Welcome to episode 176 of the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I'm Aaron Brightman, coming to you on Wednesday, September 27th. I missed yesterday. Had a big Rutgers men's basketball piece that I put out last night, and it was just a busy day. So I'm sorry about that, but I'm back today, and you'll still get 5 podcasts this week, including Saturday's rapid reaction to the Wagner game. But I wanted to keep it with basketball today. First podcast in a while on hoops. Obviously, practice underway on Monday. Preseason, full swing. Less than 6 weeks away from the season opener, November 6th, against Princeton in Trenton. Obviously, very exciting. So the article I put out was about 5 questions on Rutgers basketball heading into the season. Was talking about just in terms of having smaller guards and how that will impact the defense. Is Cliff ready for the next step? Obviously, there's a lot of guys coming off of injuries and how that's going to impact things. In addition to this team being underdogs, once again, I think that's going to really fit the mentality of the program and the roster. And obviously, Steve Pikiell's, big part of his identity. But the fifth one, and which I want to kind of touch on today and also incorporate Jerry Carino's reporting, is the new look offense and just Rutgers' new emphasis on playing faster. So Jerry was at practice yesterday, had a great article out today, Wednesday, just discussing what he saw and how the emphasis is there. It's prioritized in practice. He has a great quote from Derek Simpson, which Derek says, who I've had on the podcast earlier this summer and talked about it as well. It's a different approach this year. We're such an athletic team. We're running a lot more. We're faster. We really want to get up and down and wear teams out and have fun. So I had Steve Pikiell on the podcast in August. He called it his most athletic team ever. He did also discuss playing more up-tempo. So if you haven't watched those podcasts yet, check them out on my YouTube and also Apple, Spotify, wherever you get this podcast. But I think that there are 3 key reasons to why this is important, both for now and in the future, in terms of Rutgers playing faster. And just to kind of clarify, when they're playing faster, right, it doesn't mean they're just going to run up and down the floor. They're going to fast break all game, transition all game. If you look at UConn, right, from last season, their overall tempo for the season was 204th nationally. So it's more about being able to run in transition when it makes sense. And also just in terms of being able to put pressure on your opponent in a different way, right? Rutgers, I thought last year actually was pretty good in transition. They just didn't do it nearly enough. Their tempo overall was in the 260s. We know the Big Ten is a prodding, slow, heavy league in terms of their style. So I think that for the roster that Rutgers is going to have, let's start there. The first reason it makes a ton of sense is the way the roster is constructed. So Rutgers has smaller guards. Noah Fernandez, 5'11". Derek Simpson, 6'3", but, he's not the most physical or biggest guard. He's more of a speed, finesse player. You have Jermichael Davis. Not sure how much he's going to play this year, but he's super athletic, 6'2", super fast. And then you do have Austin Williams, which is kind of your prototypical Pikiell guard, 6'4", bigger, stronger, draws contact. But Noah Fernandez, 5'11", point guard, going to be the facilitator for the team, main facilitator. Simpson will be as well, kind of the number 2 guy in terms of handling the ball. They're going to be able to push it. And, I talked about in my overseas kind of rundown or takeaways podcast over the summer. You could hear Pikiell emphasizing pushing up the floor even after makes by the opponent. So that was a huge kind of, for me, that was an eye-opening change that I saw in that, not just running in transition off of misses, but getting up the floor quickly, right? Getting into your offense quickly is going to put pressure on the opposition, and playing faster creates more space. And they have players that will benefit from that. First of all, Cliff, right, has always been better in space and struggled last year when Rutgers slowed it down. They posted him up. They gave him the inbounds. the entry pass into the post, and he got double, triple teamed. And, he didn't have the best post moves. Now, maybe that's different this year, but he's always been better off of pick and rolls, in the air. Alley oops 2 years ago was, he tied the nation's lead in dunks. I really think, in addition to that, the fact that they're going to have guys that can create off the dribble, that lends to playing faster also. Aside from Fernandez, aside from Simpson, Austin Williams is really good at getting to the rim. And having three penetrators like that is going to create open space for Cliff down low. But he's a rim runner. So, playing fast, I mean, in transition, teams are going to have a harder time keeping track of him. I think it could really benefit his overall offensive output, not just worrying about getting him, 5 touches in the paint or whatnot. I think it can come organically. And I think Rutgers, getting downhill is going to be a real benefit, because you have shooters now. Last year, obviously, I had Cam Spencer. Andre Hyatt hit at times. He sounds like he's much improved. He shot really well overseas. Jerry said he looked pretty good in practice yesterday. He's taking on a more vocal leadership role. I think Andre's primed. I think he's really worked, and I think he's ready for this. But Gavin Griffiths obviously should be the best shooter on the team. He's a long, athletic wing, obviously heralded a recruit. But, he's also more athletic than I think people realize. But he can run in transition. But I think his ability to hit threes in transition is going to be key. Hyatt can as well. But just having shooters on the perimeter with penetrators that are going to, create open looks and better spacing in the half court too, aside from playing faster. And then, listen, Mawat Mag and Antoine Woolfolk, they are good bigs in transition. They can run. Wolf, we saw he went coast to coast against Purdue in it was a Purdue or Michigan in the Big Ten tournament. I can't remember, but he got a rebound. He dribbled all the way down the floor and he converted on a layup. So, I mean, this team is much more built for that, which kind of leads me to a blessing, I think. And, I've gotten some pushback from some people, but Rutgers losing Cam Spencer and Paul Mulcahy has changed the dynamic of the way they're going to play, right? They were players that were better half-court players, were not push-the-pace type players, and also not natural creators off the dribble. So they're now gone, right? And still huge losses. And just to reiterate, for anyone that has any wild ideas out there, and you know who I'm talking about, that Rutgers absolutely wanted them back. And that's why Noah Fernandez came in, to be that creator, to allow them to have more space in the perimeter and be able to not be reliant on creating their own shot. But now that they're gone, Rutgers filled their spots, in terms of Derek Simpson and Noah Fernandez now taking bigger roles on the ball. And then they added Austin Williams, who's a natural penetrator and really efficient at drawing contact at the rim and really efficient at getting to the foul line. So that's been big. They did, of course, add Jeremiah Williams, who is that type of player as well. I don't think there's any much chance he's going to play this year based on, the 2-time transfer rule. He's also coming off of Achilles injury. And then also there's that misdemeanor in terms of the gambling charge. If the NCAA weighs in or not, I don't know if they will. But the bottom line is, as a 2-time transfer, he's not eligible. He if they apply for the waiver, which I think they have, he's unlikely to get it based on precedent. So at any rate, just note there. But then JaMychal Davis, you added also. This team, so it was, I think, always planned to play faster for these two other reasons. But now they kind of have a jump start this year on playing faster and playing more up-tempo style, which is only going to benefit, I think, now the way the team is constructed, but also the way they will be in the future, which leads me to number 2, recruiting. Recruits, high-end recruits, want to play fast. They want to play up-tempo. And what is Rutgers doing right now? They have a top 5 recruiting class in 2024. You have Ace Bailey, committed, super talented player that can play both ends of the floor and can just run up and down all day and is going to benefit in transition and benefit playing faster and wants to play faster. That's a huge benefit. We know about Dylan Harper, priority target. He wants to run up and down the floor too. Lathan Somerville is kind of a very unique big where he can post up, but he's pretty versatile and has really good footwork for a big, can play inside and out. So he's going to benefit from that. And then you have, athletic wings and Bryce Dortch, right, and Dylan Grant. So that high-end talent that they're bringing in is conducive to this style of playing faster, more up-tempo, pushing the pace in transition. And all high-end recruits, they want to play that way. They don't want to go to a team that's going to, limit their possessions and go up and down and win 55 to 54. Of course it happens, and teams have to win certain ways sometimes. But Rutgers keeps going after versatile, athletic guys, and this type of style benefits that. The 2025 class, who they're all over, Darius Adams, Darius Acuff, Trey McKinney. I know I'm probably forgetting somebody, but these are all super athletic wing guards that can run up and down the floor, are super athletic, and that is Brendan Storrs, Darius Adams. I said Darius Adams. Meant Nigel James. These are all guys that play a fast style, and that's how they come up, right? That's AAU now. It's not to say that it's not basketball in terms of AAU is a little bit undisciplined at times, but there is a way for Pikiell to get the best of both worlds, right? And he kind of said, about defense, how is it going to impact defense? You have to, defend more possessions now. But going back to the roster, Rutgers having smaller guards, and I think like they've always had, and I wrote this in my article yesterday, they've always had bigger guards, right? And their jump passing lanes. Now with like Fernandez, I think he's going to be a great on-ball defender in terms of creating pressure and helping create turnovers that way versus just jumping passing lanes, double teams. But this team is going to press more, I think. And I think the more athletic you get, the more you want to press. And listen, if you have, they're going to have a rotation of 8-9 guys. You can press with an 8-9 man rotation. And the benefit of this year is with Cliff and Mawat. Those are two huge rim defenders to have in the back. So if the press breaks down in the front, you have two closers in the back to defend the rim. So I think they're going to press more in addition to being fast, and that's going to obviously help with tempo. And then just in terms of recruiting, right, in terms of going after, we've seen their talent level improve in terms of the 24 class, in terms of who they're going after in 25 class. If you want elite recruits, you have to play a modern style of basketball, which leads to my third point. If you want to win in the postseason, you have to play this type of style. We see how the Big Ten crashes and burns year after year in the NCAA tournament, and a big reason because of that, a big reason why is style. Their style, the Big Ten typical style, slow-paced, physical, low-scoring, doesn't translate in the NCAA tournament. It doesn't. And I think that's the number one reason why they struggle in the NCAA tournament as a conference year after year after year. And I'm fascinated to see how the contrast in style of Rutgers does play a more up-tempo, transition, pressing style, how that's going to translate in league play. I'm all for it. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to give them a different type of edge. It gives you an edge. Yes, they're utilizing their personnel to cater to its strengths, but at the same time, you're giving your team a different look, different edge. And it's not always going to work, right? You're going to go up against, how is that going to work against Purdue? It's going to be fascinating to watch, but that's why the season opener for me against Princeton plays that way. So, and Princeton's not going to want to slow it down with Cliff there. So, and Princeton, that was the old Princeton. The new Princeton, they run up and down the floor. So, and that's how you get open looks at threes, right? You break down defenses in transition and playing a faster pace. And Rutgers emphasized the three overseas. They were 48 of 100. Obviously, they play FIBA rules, so they got more shots, but they're going to shoot a lot of threes this year too. So it's all part of it, right? So, and you're getting higher talent, better offensive talent. You're getting more athletic players. You're getting higher end talent in terms of more higher level. It all makes sense. And then it translates to winning in March. That's, and like I said, UConn, they didn't play the fastest tempo all season, but they were able to push the pace in a way that, teams, when you're that talented and you're just relentless on both ends of the floor, you wear teams down. And that's the style Rutgers is going towards. Now, Steve Peichel is a big change for him. I'm excited to see him embrace that change. It sounds like he is. And there's going to be ups and downs with it in terms of, learning to live with certain defensive changes, right, in terms of how they have to adjust. But again, I think for this year's team with Cliff and Mawat, once he returns, in the back of the defense is a huge plus. And I'm just excited to see this team play faster. But I think aside from the way the roster's built, the way they're recruiting and who they're recruiting, and the way that teams win in March, it all makes sense. It's all beneficial, and it's all, I think, going to benefit and work towards pushing the program forward in terms of making another leap as a program. They're a successful program. They're a winning Big Ten program. This is the next step in terms of elevating everything that Steve Peichel has built. And it's an exciting time. And this year is that kind of first step in terms of changing the way they play, learning off it, and they're going to have to be well-conditioned. They're going to have to stay healthy. They're going to have to be committed to it. And if they are, I think you live with the results. And I think that is going to make them more dangerous. And I think they're going to be absolutely competing for an NCAA tournament bid. And I really do like this team. I wrote about they're going to be the underdogs again. They're not going to be picked probably higher than 9th by many, if at all, in the conference. But I think they're better than that. And I think playing at a faster pace is a factor that will change things in terms of their matchups and how they can compete in the Big Ten and hopefully in the postseason this year. Thanks so much for listening and watching to the Scarlet Faithful podcast once again, and I will talk to you tomorrow.